Hey there, welcome to this lecture. Today in this lecture, we're going to write some code where we will implement the event-driven programming because we need to be aware about how event-driven architecture is working in Node.js, right? Because throughout of the whole project, many places we're going to implement the same scenarios. As I said in our one of the lectures, while it comes to the theory, we will try to write our codes, all of the monolithic application codes, in such a way we just try to decouple some of the things right there, right? So rather than using the tight coupling stuff, so that is the way it's going to help us out to segregate or maybe split our monolithic application to microservice. That's really very essential. So let's try to put our hands together right now, right? So what we are going to do, first of all, let's try to understand what is event-driven programming, right? So Node.js itself, it's a event-driven architecture it is following, right? By default, by nature, Node.js, as I said in my previous lecture. So it is following the non-blocking I/O. That means it can work asynchronously, right? It can serve anything without blocking the process thread. So that is what it makes special. And the core mechanism of the Node.js, that is what it is following. Each and every task while it is performing, then it is registering to a callback and it is notifying with the help of events, right? That is the thing we are going to experience right here. All right, then now let's try to add some code, which is we are going to raise one event. We will be going to listen to that particular event. So our event will be going to drive our operation. So that is what we are going to do right there. So let's try to import events here. So this is going to be import event emitter. Event emitter from event. So events itself is a core library of the Node.js, right? So which is going to give us flexibility to creating an event and notifying that event with the help of some kind of maybe trigger from somewhere. So that is what event emitter is going to do, right? So let's try to add some more code. Then maybe we can have a more context to talk about. Now let's try to add some code here. So first thing we are going to do, register an event. Right? Then we're going to say, listen to that event. Listen to the event and drive. Right? Drive the operation. Right? So this is what we're going to do. So let's try to register one event. So how we can register one event? So to register an event, we need to make a kind of instance of that particular event emitter. As an example, const event emitter will be new event emitter, which is going to instantiate one instance of that event emitter. If you see the event emitter, let's click on right here. So while you're working on a Node.js, then always, if you don't have any clue, just hover to the Node.js module. And if you go deep inside this one, you can see we have a class that is called event emitter. So event emitter, inside the constructor, we have a couple of options, where we can add all of the options, but we are not very much interested right now to go inside these options. But if you see here in the down the line somewhere, you can see event emitter can emit in once, or you can see what kind of event we are going to emit and event name we need to provide. So that is what we need to add. Then let's go down the below. Can you see event on? What is on is going to do? On means we are emitting one event, then on it will going to work just hey, we are listening on which particular event we need to listen. So that is what exactly it's going to do by on, right? You can see on, let's say the save data or maybe delete data, or on send an email, or maybe send an SMS, right? On maybe exit the server or close the server or terminate certain things, right? So this is what exactly on is doing. And it's purely, you can see it is giving a lot of options right there. As an example, the emitter, we can provide the emitter. That's not the thing you always need to use the Node.js, the core emitter or core event emitter. You can use some different modules also, but it has to comply like this. This is the way the Node.js event emitter as a kind of base class. You can explore accordingly, go down below and check it out, what are the functionalities are available. But in our case, what we're going to do, we are not going to deep dive in each and every function of the core modules, how event emitter is working. So let's try to do one thing right here. We're going to listen to that particular event. Right now, you can see we have created this event emitter. So this event emitter will help us out to listen, right? Can you see? Event emitter on user created, let's say, right? So if you are going to raise this event from somewhere, it it is not required necessarily need to raise this event from here. You can raise this event from anywhere, right? So this is what exactly it is doing, right? And once this user created, right, then if you're passing any kind of data, then without blocking that particular call, it's going to perform the operations right there. As an example, you can say we are going to perform some expensive operations here, right? So which is going to be potentially not block the request, right? So let's try to create one request here. As an example, right now we can say Fastify, let's say get request maybe, yeah. So get request we are going to say, or maybe post request you can say, let's say post request. This is going to be, we can define and create bulk user, let's say bulk users, right? So this is going to be our one of the endpoint we are going to say, like we are going to create bulk users. So right now here we can say we're going to create bulk users. So bulk users maybe it can have approximately, let's say 10,000 users we are going to create, right? So if we are going to perform this kind of operations, then while we are calling this create bulk users, then what it's going to do, it's going to block the whole operations, right? Because your browser will be spinning up right there until 1,000 or 10,000 users are getting inserted in our database, right? Which is potentially, it's a kind of really bad scenario, right? So to improve this user experience, what we're going to do, we're going to simply emit this user. We're going to say create, not user created, let's say create bulk user, create, all right? Create bulk users, right? So this is the event, right? Now, once we are going to emit this create bulk user, then we can insert all of the, like the 10,000 users here. 10,000 users. Record insert to database, right? Insert the database, right? And what we can say, we can directly, we are going to accept that this, like, event, like this particular event is going to dive this particular operation, like this expensive operation. And we will instantly, as soon as we are receiving this, as soon as we are registering, or maybe we are firing this event, right, from here, then we will notify to the client, gonna say, hey, we have registered this event, it's going to take some time. We can say, like, we have requested to create 10,000 users. It may take some time, right? Then once we are going to run that particular event from here, create bulk user, you can see, like, it may take maybe we can set here, let's say timeout, let's say after let's say 3 seconds, right? After 3 seconds, bulk users created successfully. So let's try to execute this one from our Node application. So then you can get a kind of flavor of why this event emitter, this event event is so necessary, very important. So let's try to run the application. We can say, like, yarn dev. Right. Cool, our application is getting started. Now let's go to our HTTP the file where we have just created the request. So maybe we can just create one more request. This is going to be like again we are saying post maybe create what was the endpoint here? Yeah, create bulk users. Let's go here. We can say create bulk users. And in this case, content type will be our application session, and let's say request will be similar, something like this. Let's say, right? We're going to say this is going to be, right, similar, right? So let's assume this is going to be users. All right, this is we need to wrap it up like this, and this will be some kind of array. Let's assume we are only just sending one data right now. Maybe we can send the 10,000 data from here, right? So it can be Excel file or maybe CSV file, whatever it is. So we are not going to deep dive on the file stuff right now. We are just sending this request just like this only. So let's try to send this request, right? So let's see, like and just to keep eye on this console, right? So I'm gonna clear the console and maybe send a request, right? So can you see, like, can you see we are sending the request, right? We send the request and it's received the request right there, and it gave the response also, like we have requested to create 10,000 users. It may take some time, and after some time, bulk user created successfully. Maybe what we can do, we can extend the timer a little bit. Let's say 5 seconds, right? We're going to say 5 seconds. Now let's try to clear everything, and this one also. Now let's try to go again and create the request from there, right? Send the request. Just wait for it. Just check it out right there, right? After 5 seconds, it's going to appear right there. Can you see right now? File has been exported and everything is just went through. And instantly you can see we have received the response from our server. Gonna say we have requested to create 10,000 users. It may take some time. So that means your user experience is not going to spoil. So that's why the event-driven programming is really very helpful. Such a kind of scenarios while you are performing certain operations, which may take a little bit time because your server cannot wait so long. You cannot keep your server wait for, let's say, 30 minutes, right? So you need to send a kind of like maybe feedback. Or what you can do in order to perform this kind of operations, we can maybe register, like while we are registering that the event or emitting this event from here, like hey, just to go ahead and create this user. At the time, maybe we can pass some data to this event emitter as well. So it can update like that particular event as soon as this job is done, because while we are sending this request to our client, then only client can know like, hey, it is going to take some time, but I'm not sure like whether this job is done or not. So then what we can do, let's try to create something right here, right? So maybe we can extend this logic a little bit more. So in this case, we can say the const, let's say bulk job, or bulk create user, bulk user creation job. All right. So this job will be some kind of like maybe object or maybe hash map, whatever you can use, like it's up to you. Then maybe bulk user creation job. It's okay, perfectly fine. All right. So this is up to you. Whatever you can use, maybe you can use object or map. All right. So just to go accordingly. Now what we are going to do, let's try to go ahead here. All right. So while we'll be going to create the bulk user request, then let's try to register right here, right before registering this one. We can say register a job, right? Job to create, register a job to check the status, right? And here, what we are going to say, we can say const, let's say job ID will be, we can just like create any numbers of ID right there, right? This is going to be job ID. And we can simply return to our client, gonna say, hey, job ID is this, right? Then similarly, what we can say, we're going to create one kind of job to write here in the bulk job creation data. You can say bulk job ID will be this, status will be pending, right? So as an example like this, right? And status will be pending, or users, whatever request we don't care about, like whatever the users we are sending it, we don't care about that one, right? Only we care about whether the status is pending or maybe what we can say. Instead of say pending, status is going to be false always, right? If status is true, then our client can get to know like our job is done. Then while it comes to successfully created our job, then inside right after successfully created this one, then we can update this job. We can say like if, let's say if, right? Or maybe here what we are going to say, while we're going to emit this user event, then inside this user event or inside this user request, we need to send that job ID as well, as otherwise our event emitter will not get to know like what we need to check here, right? So let's try to send that one also. Or we can say like users will be there, then we can say job ID will be there. Job ID will be there, right? So it's a form of objects. We can say this is going to be our input data, right? So let's try to print it out, this input data, and here we can say if input data dot job ID, right? Job ID. Then if job ID is there, right? Then maybe we can find it out, like if the job ID is there, find that particular job ID and set the status as true, and we can just console log also. This is the way maybe we can find it out. If job IDs exist, then just like update accordingly, and we're setting it right here true. Perfect. So now let's try to expose another endpoint where we can check our job from our client, right? So this is going to be like, we can say Fastify get job status, right? Job ID, and inside here, let's try to close it out. So here we can directly accept the job ID parameter from our request parameter, and we will check it out. Bulk user creation job, right? Find out by that particular job ID. If job ID is available, then we can just like, we can say job status is available and it's done. Otherwise, we can say job not found, or maybe what you can say, maybe let's try to provide something like this way. Status is false, right? Status is false. So now let's try to run this application, then we can check it out right there, right? Now let's try to run the application. So here you can say yarn dev. Now let's try to copy this one from here, right? And go to our request.http file. Here we are going to create another request. This is going to be get request, and endpoint will be this one. And job ID we are going to send it right away, right after create this one. Then application accept the application. That's all exactly, because get request doesn't have any kind of body. So now let's try to send this request profile, right? So it is sending the request. It says job ID is 61717, but it's like, bulk user created successfully already. It's returning the status. So what we can say, let's go ahead and try to expand time a little bit more. Let's say we can say, let's say 8 seconds, right? And this time, server got restarted. Let's try to clean everything from here, right? Now let's try to go to HTTP request once again, send a request right here. So this time this is the request ID. We can just like provide it here. Let's try to send a request. See status false, false, false. Can you see it's coming true? So that means our client can call the status check, like job check job status, by providing that job ID. And if that particular job is done, if you see the logs right here, if you see here, we have just created this job ID here, right? And after some time, it is just like, request is completed. It's returning like, gonna say, hey, we are waiting for the job done. Then our client can constantly check like, hey, whether this job status is done or not, right? So each and every time, like, see, we have one request. This is for here. And the another one is one here, status check. This is the status check call. And again, this is the status check call again. It's again false. This one also again status check, right? This one also, right? And finally, our bulk user creation, 10,000 user has been created, and it's updated the job status right there. And finally, what it does, then again, we have checked the status, and this time it's just returning true. This is the result exactly. So right now, if you're again going to call, like this is going to be returned true also, right? True. Perfect. So now you understood like how our event-driven mechanism is working, right? So now what we are going to do, we're going to wipe it out all of this stuff from here. So nothing to worry. We're going to write some code which is going to be useful for our whole project. So this is the way we can take advantage of our event emitter. But just keep in mind, while we are creating this event emitter, it has to be singleton throughout of the application. If you still listen to this particular event from here, right? Otherwise, what it's going to do, it's going to create a new instance for that particular event, and it's not be able to listen that one, right? That is the part also we are going to handle in our Elasticsearch while we're going to implement our Elasticsearch, because that's a kind of really important topic which is we're going to cover in our upcoming lectures. Perfect. So now I hope you understood how event-driven mechanism works and how we can take the advantages of the event-driven programming in Node.js to perform certain heavy lifting work right there, right? And when it comes to heavy lifting work, or maybe which is needed to run like this kind of stuff in a very long way, or maybe it's gonna take a little bit time, then you can implement this kind of mechanism to keep track of like whether this job is done, and then you can return it back to this status, right? But nothing to worry. There are more topics. It'll going to come in our microservice section, which is pretty much it's going to use the same like event emitter kind of stuff, but we will be going to implement with the help of the message broker, right? And if you're taking this course from bootcamp, then definitely you will be get all of these things in upcoming lectures. But if you're watching this course as a kind of normal course, then maybe we're not going to cover that part. But this is really nice. Like still in the monolithic part also, we're going to cover many interesting topics just like this, right? So in the next lecture, what we're going to do, we'll be going to create our Elasticsearch event emitter just like this, right? So one thing we can say here also, just to go ahead and try this out. As an example, this event emitter, we just wanna trigger from other place. Then how we can do that? That's really tricky. Right now you can see we have our event emitter here, and we can directly emit from here only. If we need to emit these things from, let's say, from the inside the user controller right after we create the user, how we can do that? So those are the scenarios how we can handle, right? So if you go here in the index.js, this event emitter, somehow we need to pass to our this route also, right? So where exactly it's got registered here, we need to pass it on here also. Then only our user controller can access that thing. But we don't want to take like this kind of long way to get this job done. So what we can do with the help of singleton, right? So we are going to, while we're going to create this event emitter, we will be create one singleton. Throughout singleton, how it is does, like it's always going to making sure it has our whatever we are instantiating, the object or classes, it has to be only one single instance. If the instance is already exists, it's not going to create. So this is the way we can take advantages of the emitter. So what is my suggestion? Go ahead and check it out, the official documentation of the events in the Node.js, and check it out. Their various possibilities are there. This is just a kind of kickstart how we can take the advantages of the event emitter. Maybe you can do much more better work than like this, right? Perfect. Then that's all for today. In the next lecture, we'll be going to have a look at the Fastify framework and some of its features. Then we are going to put our hands on writing our whole application business logic right there, right? Then see you in the next lecture. Thank you.